Sure you've been here before,
Well, yes.
but have you ever had a personal tour from the director of the Western Art Galleries?
No.
There is this crucial scene where we, the audience, meet the three characters together for the first time in the 1950s in Brighton Museum, an art gallery.
Obviously, there are a lot of complexities with the dynamic between the three of them when they're all together.
Taste is simply just knowing how something makes you feel. So how does it make you feel?
It's an exquisite scene because it also is the scene that is part of this dual timeline. We think it's a scene where Tom is introducing Marion to somebody he's met. We do not know that actually Patrick and Tom have already been there. So we follow the narrative in what we think is real time. When Tom arranges to meet Patrick in the gallery, he finds a painting himself. Patrick doesn't take him to a painting. And what he stands in front of is a storm at sea.
You can sense the waves. You know how strong they are, like swimming in rough surf.
Exciting. And frightening.
Tom is just really curious and wants to learn, and I think that's really refreshing to meet someone who is young and from a working class background and wants to learn about art and go to museums.
What strikes Patrick about Tom, what attracts Patrick to Tom, is that he's his complete opposite. I think that fascinates him.
And a little later in time, Tom goes back to the gallery, but with Marion.
Notice the light striking the crest of the crashing waves. You feel they could crush you.
Patrick describes the painting to Marion as Tom described the painting to Patrick when he saw it the first time.
It has a different meaning later, slightly. There's a different meaning of like, oh, if actually she was on this tour, the two of them already knew each other. So that's why it plays out from her point of view, it's her fascination.
That particular scene is shot in two locations. So the exteriors were shot down in Brighton, and the interiors, the Wallace Collection in central London. Technically, shooting at a museum where there are priceless works of art on the wall is quite a challenge. You can't rig any sort of lighting instruments. You're pushing around large pieces of equipment next to priceless works of art. It's difficult. The reason we chose the Wallace Collection was it had a lovely sense of natural light. It has these two glass sort of vaulted roof at the top, and so I liked it for that.
Because it's stacked with paintings, it almost became slightly claustrophobic. It acted as something where it pushed them all into an environment together.
Because everyone is looking at the paintings, you get this wonderful idea where you can frame a shot with the three of them in it, and they can all be thinking and doing a different thing.
Blake's trying to startle the senses as well as the spirit. There's so much passion in his work.
The Blake painting we chose because it creates something of abandonment, it creates something of freedom, it creates something of friendship.
You know, there are moments in it where you see Marion looking at Patrick and you think, oh, there's an attraction there. Then there's Tom who's in between the two of them, and you kind of see his dilemma.
We wanted to try and suggest to the audience that actually it might be Marion and Patrick who end up together.
Point is, something is going on. Marion is responding to this because actually a little bit of her is being opened up in the most extraordinary way. You see that in Emma's performance.
This is one of my favourite paintings, Raising of Lazarus by Jan Levens.
Jan Levens' Lazarus picture. We found this painting and thought, that is something that one could believe Patrick would be in awe of. Marion immediately sees something in it.
It's astonishing.
Exactly.
It is also a painting about a rebirth and about two friends and one of them coming alive again. And somewhere in there, there is a story that Patrick is telling Tom. They're talking in code through talking about art. And they're talking about themselves and they're talking about the world they're currently living in.
I wouldn't mind learning more about paintings. Art, I mean.
well, that's admirable.
Is it? Why?
Because a man should always try to improve himself.
It's the particular and important environment, the colour of your walls if you can't change them in a location. And as someone who's very interested in colour, I want, obviously all those colours had to be in balance. For the Tom character, he's out of his depth in that environment. He wants to fit in, so, he wears a smart shirt and a tie and tries to look as grown up as he can. Patrick, his thematic colour is this mustard. There's flecks of mustard in that suit. He has this important role in the museum, and we decided that he got all his suits made at a tailor's in Brighton, not Jermyn Street in London. Likewise, Marion, I think her ability to make artistic choices is evident, but it's still quite sort of conservative in a sense. I wanted everyone to look in harmony in that environment. That's why I went for that particular burgundy.
She helped us understand more about Marion, helped us understand more about Tom off duty.
This scene was probably the one that I scored the most different ways. My first attempt at it was very much about Patrick. It was all Patrick presenting something and the arrival in their lives of this more flamboyant kind of character. And then that kind of started to feel like we weren't sort of really reflecting what was really going on behind the scenes. And then I tried another version, which was a much more kind of excited version, and it was a much pacier thing, and it felt like the excitement of going to the museum and a new life beginning. And then what emerged then was this version which stops and it starts, and it leaves lots of spaces for looks. These little glances and looks between people started to emerge to let the audience realise that this wasn't just a simple trip to the museum.
The film could be opened up in so many ways by coming at it from different angles. That whole scene is constructed in a way where you don't know what you're quite seeing there yet. What you think you're seeing turns out to be something more nuanced than that later. And language about the art is the start of the language of their relationship.
Astonishing.
Exactly.